Oop, what's that? Spoilers. The other day I asked you, which comic page should I redraw? You responded, page 2. No. Hello, passengers and crew members. Welcome aboard the PSP Locust Novice. This is your captain speaking. Today, we are going to be learning all of my secrets about how to make a comic page. So, generally, a very unhelpful short video. Let's do it. So, if my voice sounds a little funny, it's because I am ill. But don't worry, I went to the doctor and I got medicine and I'm starting to feel better, but I still have a really bad cough. So if I cough, excuse me ahead of time. Thank you. So, I bet you're wondering, why are we here in real land instead of on the screen in digital world? This is because when I start to make a comic, it does not begin in an actual comic page. I don't open the canvas and start going. The first thing I do when I'm making a story, any story at all, whether I'm turning it into a comic or an actual book, is I write out the story as stupidly as I possibly can. And not in a lot of detail, just enough so that I get all the plot points down. And then I can go in later and go into more detail about things if I need to. And when I say stupidly, I mean sound as freaking dumb as you can while still being coherent. Because no one's going to see this but you, unless you think it's funny and you show it to your friends. Then other people will see it. But unless you show it to other people, no one's going to see it. So don't try to be perfect at this point, because it doesn't matter. The reason you're writing stupid, or the reason that I try to write really stupid, is because if I try to write perfectly, then I'm going to be sitting for days, maybe even months or years, trying to just get the outline done, because I'm so caught up in, oh, but that sounds dumb when I say it like that, or I should write it different so that it sounds better. No, you won't get anywhere if you do that. This is just an outline. Just get it done. Just throw up on the page. Get it out. Get it all out. I'm sorry. I'm on sick brain right now. I'm kind of loopy. Right. Then after I have that written down, I still don't go into the digital stage yet, because I like to do thumbnails traditionally. Within this folder lies the Secrets of Revolution Tale, or my thumbnails anyway. So let's open it up and see all the spoilers. Just kidding, I'm not going to show you any spoilers. But I will show you my thumbnails. And I actually covered up all of the pages that you haven't seen. This is the page that I just uploaded that everyone thought was so adorable, with Sans and Frisk holding hands. When I do comics, I sit down, I pull out one of my blank thumbnail pages, and I just scribble out the next few scenes or pages of the comic. This is the whole Undyne bit, just so that I can see them right next to each other in sequence, and it's easier to arrange, and I can just kind of like take little notes, and sometimes I take notes on the back. I find it easier than trying to go digital and drawing it out, because as soon as I go into digital, my brain automatically goes into, this has to start looking right. And then I'll be sitting there for, once again, for days or months trying to get the thumbnails to look good. And that's not what you want. You want to get your thing started. Because if you don't get it started, then you can't keep going anywhere. If you're stuck standing on the start line, you won't ever get to the finish line. So when you do these, if you do these, again, try to make them look, I mean, not horrible so that you can't understand what's happening. Just make them look good enough that you can understand that This is Papyrus holding Sans. This is Sans referencing the kid. This is the kid being cute. This is Papyrus thinking the kid is cute and being like, that's obviously not a good drawing. But I know what's happening and I can go from there. And that's what you need, is a jumping board. So, actually, I think I still have, that's Papyrus. That's the, and yep. This is the first thumbnail sketch of the page that I'm going to be redrawing today. It's just a bunch of floating circles with like facial expressions in it, and there's some dialogue written around. And if you're really smart, you'll also be able to figure out where to place the dialogue bubbles at this point. If you don't, I don't care. I just kind of get the general gist of what's going on, and then I figure out exactly where to put everybody. Excuse me. I'm trying not to cough. What was I saying? Anyway, don't try to be perfect. I mean, don't try to be perfect ever, but definitely don't try to be perfect at this stage. It doesn't matter. Once again, unless you think it's funny and you're showing it to people or you're showing it on the internet to all your passengers and crew members, no one's going to see this but you. So you don't have to try to impress anybody. You shouldn't anyway try to impress anybody. You should always try to make yourself happy. Anyway, let's not get philosophical about thumbnails for Undertale AU. So these are my blank thumbnail pages, and I printed them out on the back of a scratch piece of paper because I didn't want to waste paper. And how I got this was I opened up my Fire Alpaca. I made a page the size of the comic pages I was going to do. I opened the comic guidelines and I took a screenshot of the page, and then I went into a Word document and I arranged them on a piece of paper and printed out a bunch of them. And so, voila, instant thumbnail pages. You don't have to be trying to draw out all these squares and stuff, and the guides are there, which is nice, and, it's just gives it a little extra ease. Okay, moving on. Alright, and I'm going to be completely honest with you at this point. If it was up to me, and I had it all to do again, this page would probably actually end up, just this scene from this one page would end up being 4 pages. Because on this page, the joke is clunky, the layout is weird, I could have stretched it out longer, I could have done so many more, I could have put more dialogue in it to show more, I tend to be so scared of fluff that I don't have any fluff in my stories. I'm trying to get over that, but at this point, I would love to sit down and draw 4 new pages, but I don't have the time. So we're just gonna attempt to make this look better within 1 page. Help me! Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Let's have a look at this page really quick. Hold on. Ugh, yeah, see, I don't like this. It's clunky, the boxes are odd shapes, and this was still when I was just doing box as a page layout. Here's the thing, guys. Page layout is probably my least favorite part of the comic making process. I freaking hate page layout. It doesn't make any sense in my brain. I don't know why. I read manga all the time. I read comics all the time. You'd think that I would kind of have like this comic knowledge library from how many I read. I don't! I've been trying lately to break out of the just box kind of page layout. I don't know how well I've been doing, but I know it's better than it was, and that's all that matters. So at this point, I'm gonna try to, I guess, reimagine this box hell as something different. Like I said, I'm gonna try to keep it just to the 1 page, so I'm kind of stumped a little bit. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Yeah. So let's do it. Let's do the thumbnail. Let's do the thumbnail now. Let's stop messing around and start actually doing the thing. That's what you came here for, to watch me do the thing. So let's do it. Okay, so I finished the thumbnail and it's still kind of suffering from a box to box syndrome, but I kind of fixed it a little bit. This is gonna kind of be like one box that I've split up, and then this is gonna be more of like a full page bleed sort of section, just to kind of break up the monotony. I don't know how it'll read. Once I actually get into the digital drawing process, I can suss all that out, but for now this is the idea. So once I'm at this point, I get it into my computer, and how I do that is I just take a picture of it with my phone, and it goes directly into my Google Photos, and I can take it from Google Photos and put it into Fire Alpaca. If you don't have that ability, then you can also scan it, or however you get photos onto your computer. Do you like my phone case? It's super cute. And then I can go digital. So now, finally, the moment it has come. We are going to go into Fire Alpaca. So let's go. Finally, we made it to the digital stage. As you can see, I've taken the photo of the thumbnail and placed it on my canvas. It's not really there to be a sketch, it's just for reference, so it doesn't stay long. Before I begin sketching in my little scenes, I lay out the boxes on a separate layer and lock it, and I leave it on top of all my other layers. Do not be trying to draw out your panels and then box them in. It won't work, it will look awkward, you will be sad, so don't be doing that. Don't even go there. Now I start sketching, and my sketching process takes a really long time. By the end of the sketching phase, I will have several layers, like 20 layers, dedicated to different stages of the sketch process. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? I don't know. I know some artists can lay down a sketch, like one sketch layer, and then start line art right on top. But I like to have a really good base to work on. My final sketch is very nearly exactly what my line art will turn out looking like. Alright, now it's time to start the line art, and I'm gonna show you a couple of things here before I get started. First, I open a line layer and I name it so that I always know which one is the line layer. And what I used to do is I used to use this pen tool. This it goes automatically from small to big to small again, no matter what you do or what your pen pressure is, it'll always do that. And it's the pen I used to use, but I don't anymore, and I'll show you why. When I use different pen pressure to get all these nuanced looks, it just vanishes, because it forces it into the thin to thick to thin. Whereas if I use this normal pen tool, I can go in and do different thicknesses of line in one stroke, and it stays. It won't go away. And that will make your line art a lot more interesting. It's harder because you have to think about it instead of it just happening automatically, but I think it looks better, personally. Next, I'm showing you the correction. When you have your correction turned up really far, your line will become more smooth. Your line follows behind your cursor a little bit further, and so your lines look smoother and it's easier to get a nicer looking line. When you have it turned off, your lines get all squiggly and scraggly and just don't look as smooth. So if you want your lines to be smoother, try turning your correction up. I have mine turned up a lot, probably more than I need to, but it's how I like it, so it's how I do. Just some tips. Alright, to the line art now. So first of all, I don't line in black. There's no black in my comic at all. I use this really dark brown red color. And yes, I have to draw each line at least 20 times. Dad, don't judge me! I'm just kidding, I love you. When you're doing line art, remember that the line art is part of the drawing. So take time to make it look nice. I used to draw with like one line thickness and call it a day and fill it in with the color, like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's the shape, the image that is the thing that people look at. But I once had an art teacher tell me that if it doesn't look good without color, then it doesn't look good. And now I try to make the line art almost like it could stand alone as its own piece without the color. And then you just go in and you do the line art like normal, and now you get sick. Drink some spicy ramen to feel better. Take a nap. You good? Congratulations, you're off schedule! Again. Moving on to our color layer. And when I do color, I just throw down flats of color. I'm not painterly at all. I like it, I just don't do it. Some tips on color, I would suggest having a set color palette for the comic. It makes the whole project look cohesive, and the process becomes way easier. Like if you need a blue, you just grab a blue from the palette, done. You don't have to like try to find one that looks good. It's because it's the blue. That's the blue. I would like to, I could go on for a very, very long time on how I make my color palettes, but I don't have time in this video. If you're interested in something like that, let me know down in the comments. I might make a little video of it sometime in the future. So now for shading. Ugh. Ah. Ugh. Blech. I don't know if you guys know this, but I hate shading. It's the worst. Ew. How I shade is I take my red color and my pencil tool, I make a layer and set it to multiply, and I clip it to my color layer, and then I nervously and frantically put down shades where I think they might go. Then I use the blur tool to soften and sort of blend. There is a smudge tool in Fire Alpaca, but I prefer the blur. I prefer the blur. I'm gonna make that into a t-shirt design and put it on my Redbubble. Buy it, wear it all the time, confuse and frighten your friends and family! My only tip for you as far as shading is concerned is don't use black, and don't use gray, and don't use white for highlighting. It will just make everything you did look dead, and it will just kill it. So, sometimes I use a pink or something depending on the color palette of the image, but for RT, it's rusty red all the way, baby. Now we move on to the final phase of my comic making process, and that's the dialogue. Hallelujah, we made it! So, some tips for dialogue. Number 1, write out the dialogue first, then put the bubble around it. My papa told me this at a very young age. He probably doesn't remember it, but thank you, Dad! You taught me the way of the dialogue bubble. Number 2, don't squeeze a bunch of dialogue into one bubble. It looks messy and people will probably just skim over it rather than actually reading it. Number 3, choose an easy to read font. My font for this comic is American Typewriter, except of course for Sans and the Paps, and a certain someone also has his own font. And I guess that's it. We are donezo. So did I improve or did you like the original better? Let me know down below. Any questions, comments, or critiques are greatly appreciated. Also, if you want to support me further, consider becoming a crew member on my Patreon. My crew members just received Valentines from me. A special shout out to my crew members, Danielle Young and Eagletail. That's all from me for now. Captain Alamort signing off.